Today is Human Rights Day, recognized worldwide to celebrate the rights and dignity of all people. With this year's theme, Our Rights, Our Future, right now, we are reminded that protecting everyone's freedoms today shapes a better tomorrow for all. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. We have a very informative show lined up just for you, so stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Season's greetings to my fellow Jamaicans. This Christmas, let us celebrate in true Jamaican style and commit to safer roads. Last year, we lost over 480 lives in road accidents. This holiday season, let us do our best to stay below that number. Drive responsibly, slow down, avoid distractions, and never ever drink and drive. Buckle up, especially the children, and always watch out for pedestrians. The holidays are a time for joy, not sorrow. Let's ensure everyone arrives safely. From all of us at the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, have a safe and happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. God bless you all.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, December 10, 2024. Minister with responsibility for climate change and the environment, Matthew Samuda, has welcomed the opening of a new recycling plant in Manchester, which supports the government's efforts to tackle plastic pollution. The Kingsland Plastic Recycling Plant, which was opened a few days ago, is the 9th facility for Recycling Partners of Jamaica. The depot, which has the capacity to collect 120,000 pounds of plastic per month, will serve central Jamaica.
The government is very happy with the collection taking place from RPJ's efforts and investments because ultimately plastics are cheap and bulky, so they're expensive to collect. It's like trucking air. So every dollar invested in collecting and building these sorts of depots is actually a significant investment in our waste management challenge.
Minister Samuda reveals that Jamaica is number 1 in the Caribbean for its rate of recovery and recycling of plastic bottles monthly. Upwards of 40% of that is attributed to Recycling Partners of Jamaica.
If Jamaica is going to continue on the road that we have started on to make progress, meaningful progress, on managing our plastic problem, we have to do it. There's no point in waiting around for some global treaty that is going to give us clear guidance and obligate us to do it. It really is up to us. Our fortunes are entirely in our own hands.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF's capacity has been bolstered with the donation of 203 technology assets from the Republic of Korea. The items, valued at over $407,000, include 30 forensic camera kits, 62 laptops, and 111 tablets. They were handed over on Wednesday at the Office of the Commissioner of Police in Kingston. The National Security Minister and Police Commissioner agree that the donation represents a substantial investment in Jamaica's security apparatus and a strengthening of the partnership between both countries.
These are tools, not just equipment. They're vital enablers of modern law enforcement. They will significantly boost the Jamaica Constabulary Force's ability to manage crime scenes.
And this donation aligns seamlessly with the Jamaica Constabulary Force vision for digital transformation in law enforcement by enhancing data management, improving workflow efficiency, and empowering officers with cutting-edge tools for a more modern, effective, and people-centered police force.
Charge d'Affaires at the Embassy of the Republic of Korea, Jinwook Kim, says the donation is in support of Jamaica's ongoing efforts to enhance citizen security.
We are grateful for the opportunity to contribute to this crucial area of public safety and security.
The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, is reporting that normality should resume within the next 2 weeks for regular garbage collection, which is being impacted by rainfall. Director of Operations Aretha McFarlane explains that trucks have had to be withdrawn from service due to disposal sites being oversaturated with water.
We have been taking steps to address those issues. We would have bought loads of river shingles. We would have put stones on it to sort of get some traction on the landfill so that the trucks can go on with some ease and tip off.
Ms. McFarlane says the agency is seeing better days now and it has increased the number of trips being made to reduce the backlog to single digit. Also, in anticipation of extra solid waste being generated during the Yuletide season, the NSWMA will be ramping up its operation with additional trucks and sweepers. Special focus will be placed on town centres and market districts across the island to ensure the spaces are clean.
We will be working right back to New Year's with the additional support of staff, resources, to keep the town centres, the market districts, and Jamaica clean, as a whole clean.
Meanwhile, the NSWMA says it will be enforcing a no-tolerance approach to the illegal disposal of solid waste by individuals and businesses. As such, it will be dispatching enforcement officers across the island. The Director of Operations is appealing to people not to use illegal dumping sites or create new ones, as these contribute to a diversion of resources to deal with the issue.
We have to ensure for those persons who are not prepared to behave the right way, or enforcement officers, along with the police that will be out, we will have sufficient surveillance and persons will be dealt with accordingly. It is in fact a collective duty, a collective responsibility. No amount of trucks you put in the system will be able to run behind illegal dumping and littering.
Ms. McFarlane is encouraging persons to containerize their garbage, which will allow for greater efficiency in the agency's collection procedures. And finally, Minister of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, has committed to carrying out the government's high-priority agenda for early childhood education. During her sensitization school tour, Minister Morris-Dixon said literacy was one of the key areas of focus to reduce the need for remediation.
We're going to have to spend more resources looking at the early years to ensure that our high schools don't have to be doing that remediation, where they can take them and really harness them in the way that they want to and not have to be teaching things that should have been taught before. So that's a key priority.
Minister Morris-Dixon also stressed the need to increase technology in schools and enhance support for students with special needs.
Through the ministry, we're committed to supporting institutions like Green Island High School, where they are working really hard for the benefit of our children.
The minister's school tour marks an important step in identifying areas where targeted interventions can make a lasting impact on the education landscape. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
As always, we're here to keep you in the loop with some of the key events from the past week involving our Prime Minister. Here's Jamaica House Weekly.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness last week signed 4 contracts for work to start on the shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark program. It is between the government and China Harbour Engineering Company Czech, the successful bidder on the project. Work is set to begin this month, and the contract packages are scheduled for 2 years, with another year for defects liability repairs.
Package 1, Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Thomas. Package 2, St. Catherine and Clarendon. Package 3, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland and Hanover. And Package 4, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary and Portland.
Prime Minister Holness says all the processes have been completed without compromising any established guidelines for good fiscal management, anti-corruption and transparency.
This is something to be celebrated. We have undertaken this massive project in record time and with full compliance.
The project will be headed by the National Works Agency.
They will be supported by teams of engineers, consultants, and other technical professionals. So we expect that there will be sufficient oversight of the work of the contractors.
The Prime Minister also reveals that the first constituency in the corporate area to see work done will be the St. Andrew Western, and the first in rural Jamaica is Northwest St. Elizabeth. During Thursday's contract signing, a Spark website was launched on which persons can find a governance framework that was established for the project and approved by Cabinet. Declaring the island's road condition a national emergency, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced an allocation of $2 billion for immediate maintenance. It will involve the patching and restoration of roads that are high-volume traffic areas, as well as critical connection points and economically sensitive roads.
There are 21 Grade 1 contractors. The NWA will use the various methodologies approved for emergency procurement to engage those Grade 1 contractors, to mobilize them right across Jamaica to get the patching and reinstatement of roads to drivable conditions done.
The NWA is to supply Cabinet with a list of main roads for work to begin immediately. Providing a safe living space for 3 residents of St. Catherine through the new social housing program was a priority for the Prime Minister last week. Receiving a 3-bedroom unit was former Councillor Baron Hibbert of Kitson Town after fire engulfed his home, leaving him depending on relatives for shelter. Odeniki Smith, who went through a traumatic event that left the family home life unstable, is another beneficiary. So too is Andrea Hill, who broke down retelling her painful story before getting to this point.
We're very pleased that we're able to facilitate a transformation in your life, and especially in time for Christmas. Yes. And I'm sure all of Jamaica is celebrating with you and very happy for you, and see that you are genuinely deserving of this benefit.
Also on the Prime Minister's agenda last week was the mobilization of works for a state-of-the-art community cultural center in Olympic Gardens. Construction of the $127 million multi-purpose building is being financed by the Chase Fund, and the work is projected to take place over a 9-month period. Dr. Holness says further upgrades to the complex will include a playground for children and a paved multi-purpose court.
So this entire area will become effectively the community sports center and civic center. That's the plan for the entire area.
Other developments for the community include a sewer project and a 20-room golden-aged home. Closing out the week, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness affirms the government's deep appreciation for the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. Dr. Holness says the nation is grateful for their service and commitment to building a safer Jamaica. He celebrated with them during their annual end-of-year cocktail event. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
By now, you're probably getting your ingredients ready for your Christmas cake. That's right, it's not too early. But just so you don't miss any steps, here's Chef Dennis Osborne to remind us how to get that perfect Christmas cake with some refreshing sorrel drink, Yardie style.
The focus of the Advent season is on how we can prepare our hearts and homes for the arrival of Christ. As we prepare ourselves for the joy, peace, hope, and love that the season brings, holding close to those we love the most, and sharing our favorite foods are 2 ways we do this. As we consider our preferred fruits for the season, our Jamaican fruitcake paired with a glass of sorrel comes to mind. Chef Dennis Osborne is in the kitchen to walk us through creating this popular Christmas dessert.
Let's go. All right, so we're making an half-pound butter fruitcake today. So we're starting by creaming our butter and our sugar together. So we add half pound of butter in our mixing bowl and half pounds of sugar. We mix or cream our butter and sugar at a medium until it's creamy and fluffy. So we are combining dry ingredients first. So here we have a cup of flour, a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, combine this together. Have half cups of breadcrumbs here. And the breadcrumbs is optional. So we set this aside. We move into our fruits or dry fruits. So we have here some mixed peel. We have some raisins. So it's half cup of raisin, half cup currants, half cup prune, and half cup cherry as well, and quarter cup mixed peels. So we'll go ahead and put in some nutmeg also in. About a tablespoon of nutmeg because it's flavoring for us here in Jamaica. So this we combine all our dry ingredients, so when we're mixing we don't have any separation by adding our dry fruits in our blender to get it puree. And we're adding 2 cups of wine for moisture, so it makes the cake all juicy and ready. Here we go, our fruits all puree and ready to add to our batter in just a few. So we move over to our eggs. Here we'll be using 7 eggs for our batter here. The first one is fine to crack in the bowl that you're going to whisk in, but for the others, preferable do them separate because of spoilage. Alright, so we go by whisking our eggs. This helps to combine the yolk and also the egg white together. Here is our butter and sugar. It's cream and come to a nice peak. So this is what you need when you're baking your cake, light and fluffy. So we combine this butter, creaming portion, to create our traditional fruit cake. Adding a teaspoon of almond and a teaspoon of vanilla, and of course we'll be having just another pinch of salt, and our Jamaican rum we'll be adding about 2 shots. So we're gonna go ahead and put our cake batter inside the oven for 350 degrees for 2 hours, all right? ginger to put on the glass just for decoration. So here we go, we have our Jamaican fruit cake. Also on the side, we're going to serve some carrot cake. For those who in the family doesn't enjoy the fruit cake, so we can have some carrot cake with some walnuts.
Attitude is something which productivity will require, and a good attitude. So these are conversations which are difficult, because how do you instill a good attitude? It starts by the kinds of activities that you engage your children in at an early age. What are we teaching our children even in our own homes? How do they see us reacting to challenges? How do they hear us addressing issues? That's what's going to shape their attitude and their mindset.
As you enjoy the festivities of the season, it's important to think about the environment. Bushfires caused by dry weather or careless actions can seriously affect our water supply. When fires destroy plants and trees, it disrupts the natural water cycle, making clean water harder to get. Here's a reminder of how you can prevent bushfires.
Unplanned fires that burn in natural areas such as forests, grasslands and savannas are called bushfires. They are usually caused by human activities done in error. In Jamaica, individuals burning garbage or clearing fields, farmers burning land for replanting, and individuals throwing away lit cigarettes are all actions that can cause bushfires. Natural occurrences such as a lightning can also cause bushfires. This happens when lightning strikes and ignites dry trees and bushes. Bushfires can have deleterious or harmful effects on the natural environment. Managing Director of the Water Resources Authority, Peter Clark, wants citizens to pay keen attention to habits that can cause bushfires and be more proactive. One of the effects of bushfires is soil erosion. When burnt material from fires infiltrate the soil and form a waxy layer, this makes it difficult for water to infiltrate the ground during rainfall. Similarly, when the roots of plants burn, they can no longer hold soil particles in place. Bushfires also cause harm to the country's watersheds and have a negative impact on water resources. This continues the vicious cycle of water shortage.
So that when we are gathering water, we then have to probably not take that initial water into reservoirs because the sediment level is so high. This is created by the conditions that the bushfires would have set up. And so It leads to increased treatment costs. It leads to diversion of water that could have been collected for time, as we are now in need of water. That could have been collected, but it has to be diverted because the erosion and the sediment is so high.
Bushfires also cause the depletion of stored water in facilities like the Mona Reservoir when the precious liquid is used for dampening blazes.
The Jamaica Fire Brigade had to call on the Jamaica Defence Force, who had to use its helicopter and to pull gallons of water, dipping bucket into the Mona Reservoir to halt bushfire. Now that I understand is almost 1,000 buckets of water was removed from the Mona Reservoir to put out bushfire.
A December 2022 report from the Meteorological Service of Jamaica showed that all parishes were experiencing rainfall levels below their respective 30-year averages. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded a mere 5% of their average rainfall. Since the start of this year, the country has been experiencing a meteorological drought.
The fact that it is a meteorological drought means that right now, the rivers that are served largely by almost instantaneous rainfall, the rivers that are emanating and being sourced from areas that are of the volcanic rocks are being impacted.
Mr. Clark says rivers in the Blue Mountains and the Wandibolas Mountain are being affected. This has resulted in certain water sources being impacted, and that's why an increase in bushfires is worrying for the Water Resources Authority.
There must be concern when water that has been abstracted and gathered for domestic purposes is being used to out bushfires. We have a very serious and strong concern about that.
To minimize the risks and ensure that precious resources are used for their intended purpose, it is important that citizens do not carelessly light and leave fires unattended.
And that's it for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Do join us again tomorrow for another informative show. In the meantime, remember to visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.